Just the dust. Nice. Hold it up. Nice. Dude, I want one. Make me one. I want one.
Oh, yeah.
Plan to be the next president of the United States.
You're supposed to have some fun in this campaign. Anybody have any fun over the weekend watching the?
Oh yeah.
That was pretty amazing. Where is this all coming from? It's coming from people like you, young people who care. And I think it's just fantastic that our campaign's been able to capture the spirit and enthusiasm, and really led by young people, and really allowing us to be competitive. You know, I think what has happened is never before have the people who've been frustrated and annoyed with the system been able to have a voice, because the others have so much money up front and they control it in the special interest. They get tens of millions of dollars, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. We don't have that amount of money, but now we're raising more money than they are because they've exhausted their resources, you know, and they can't come back. One thing they asked me when it first started, they said, well, how are you ever going to compete? And at the beginning, of course, I didn't know how much money we'd ever get. And I said, well, I don't know. I think we'll do okay. We can raise some money. And I said, maybe those people with all that money will act like government. Maybe they'll get bureaucratic and waste all their money. You know, there's been a lot of waste in those other campaigns. Contrast to ours, when you think of how much effort, the work that you do, and the enthusiasm and the time and the spontaneous making of signs and advertising. You know, I guess you haven't heard somebody put a blimp together. Yeah. There was a radio show we were on today. I can't remember which one it was, but one was supposed to be conservative, the other guy was supposed to be liberal. And the liberal, he didn't get to talk much, but his eyes lit up. He says, "Are you going to bring the blimp to Iowa?" I don't know. It's a long way. Of course, they wanted to get the blimp up to Boston in the middle of a blizzard. That didn't work very well. Saw on the internet that our opponents suggested, yeah, that's a good idea. That blimp's going to come out there, and the wind is going to blow them out to sea, and they'll never see them again. But no, I really am delighted. Groups like this, and especially the amount of work you do, really gives me the encouragement, because people say, I give you the encouragement and I get rid of the apathy, but you've got rid of my skepticism. Young people who care, who listen to the message, and you don't come asking me, what are you going to do in government and how are you going to take care of me? And all I want to do is give you your freedom back and let you take care of yourself. politicians in Washington are so far behind the times and behind this, they would be astounded if they would ever hear a group of young people who go in and not promise them something and get this enthusiasm. They don't even comprehend it. So this is what is so delightful. This is why I am encouraged. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the campaign, but all I know is meeting. Like I told Jay Leno, there's always the risk of beginning. But there is no risk of us losing this momentum one way or the other. I mean, there's a lot of hope for the future of this country and the future generation, even though when we look at all these problems that we have. And I'm always amazed. I talk about all the problems, and everybody walks out with hope and enthusiasm and just excitement about it all, and no negativity. And that is what really gives me the encouragement and keeps me going. Because if there weren't supporters and there was no money, there'd be no campaign, you know. And in the beginning, I told my staff and people and longtime supporters to say, time is ready, the time is ready, you have to do it, it's getting more important than ever, you know, our civil liberties are being undermined. They're liable to start a war in Iran, and you know all the arguments of how this thing can get worse. There's going to be a dollar crisis, and I said, well, I just don't think there's enough people out there that know it and understand it. And of course, I realized you can't count the remnant. We don't know, but there was no way anybody could measure the enthusiasm from young people. So you're really the heart and the soul of the campaign. The fact that young people care about this, and I get questions all the time of it. And they still say, you know, at the beginning it was just about a dozen or two of those young people who know how to use the internet and do all that spamming. So we had this large rally in Philadelphia where, truthfully, they claimed I overstated, but I think that there was a pretty reliable estimate that there were 5,000 people. So I told them, I said, well, they told me there were 3 dozen spammers. It looks to me like there are more than 3 dozen people here. So, but you know, in a way, it's a little bit sad that we didn't get attention until we proved we could raise the money. Really, it's the message that should count. Why shouldn't the media respond and say, look, this is a different message. It fits the Constitution, the American tradition. It emphasizes freedom, talks about prosperity and peace. And why shouldn't we get attention immediately just for that message? And yet we did not get it. Of course, we've been working in the vineyards for quite a few decades, many of us. And that was my point. I didn't know whether it would take another 20 years. Because when I started in the 70s, there was very little, there was no way we could get a group like you out and enthusiastic about the campaign. So things have changed, but they've changed not because of an individual like myself, but because there's been an intellectual change, because so many of you have heard. You didn't hear it all from me. I might have introduced some information to you and got excited and read about it, but this has been going on for a decade. People have read about free market economics and sound money, and a few of you might have even heard about that Constitution. You know? So it is delightful. The groundwork has been done more so than I ever dreamed, and the enthusiasm is there. So I am so pleased that we have been able to encourage you to do this and to think of the hard work. And that's why I always tell people, you know, it's hard work. You out in the cold and do this and spend your own money and print signs and do all these things. And I said, but you got to have some fun doing it. And most of the time, the fun can come. And this is what I relied on over the years, even though our numbers were much smaller. It was good to get together with 20 or 30 or 40 people. It would take the whole country to find those 40 people to come together. But it was like-mindedness that was good, that we understood each other. And the delightful thing is what we understand has nothing to do with how we look or what we believe or how we want to use our freedoms. We're bringing people together, not trying to be, you know, judgmental and telling people how you want to use your freedom, what religion you want to follow, what set of standards you want to use, what food you want to eat, or what you want to smoke, or what you want to read. All of these things. It is bringing people together under the banner of freedom and making our own choices. But of course, the big issue is if we get our freedom back, will we have a generation? I know how you feel, but the question is, will all your fellow people in your generation be willing to accept the responsibility? You know, and that is the big challenge. Now,
This is America, we will.
now, the people who believe in big government don't want you to assume responsibility because they don't believe you will be responsible. They'll say immediately, oh, they won't take care of themselves. They won't have medical care, and we'll have to do it, so we'll force them to do this and force. But the reason why it's coming together now is that